Welcome everybody, it's me, Little Frenchie. I'm here to do a tutorial for you. This will be my first one. I'm going to be doing a pineapple. It's pretty simple, and the great thing about doing things that are in nature, if you mess up, it doesn't matter, because a lot of times in nature messes up itself. So if you feel like your painting isn't exactly how it should be, it is, because hey, it was looking like that in nature. The two paintings I did them this evening. This is the third try, second try. If you go to my Facebook page, Little Frenchie, you'll see the first one that I did yesterday at my lunch break. I just want to go over a few of the colors that we're using today, mostly blues and yellows, and some browns. I'm using 6 colors, which is a little bit more than I usually do, but this is to help get the colors that we need for the pineapple. Most of my colors are Daniel Smith, and I have one Winsor Newton, and you can mix and match them as you go. You don't necessarily have to use all the colors I do, just try to get the feeling of what's going on. The first 2 blue colors, we got French Ultramarine. This is the first blue I ever used that I really like to use, and I've been using pretty consistently. You can see it's pretty like used up pretty well, and that's because this was my first blue, and I will have to get another one sooner or later, but I love it. My other one is Phthalo Blue. It's more like a teal color, and that's what we're using for the background here. It's just that bright blue pop that you're gonna have. The 2 browns I'm using is a burnt orange sort of brown and burnt umber. Burnt umber is another standby color that should be one that you use often. You could see this one is pretty used up too, and I actually have to go to Michael's and get another one. But this is a good brown to have in your collection. New Gamboge. This is my other very first yellow that I had. Use it pretty exclusively with everything, and love it. And we have Hansa Yellow medium. This is a really cool bright yellow. This is more of a deeper yellow. When I was first starting, I only had the 4 colors, and honestly it was a good thing that I did that. So 2 brushes that I'm using, number 8 and a number 4. Like I said, I almost exclusively just use these 2 brushes. Makes things easier. Yes, they do have more brushes out there, but these 2 are my favorite to do what I need to do. And I'm going to pause this video, set up the camera, and then you can just watch over my shoulder as I paint it, and hopefully inspire you to paint something in nature, preferably a pineapple, since that's what we're doing. All right, see you on the flip side. All right, I'm back to kind of show you how to do this painting. Once again, we're going to be doing a pineapple. Now, I'm going to do some light drawings of where I want my pineapple to be, and I'm going to do a really like lazy C here and go all the way down. So we're going to have an oval with a kind of a cutting on the top, and then I'm going to lightly put in all the pineapple leaves in here as we go. Now when you're painting and drawing, what you need to remember is depth perception. And so these leaves that I'm putting in here are we're going to have a big fat one here because it's on its side, and one right above it. Do another one over here. Now remember, because this is nature, you don't have to be perfect when drawing it. I'm just giving a really rough sketch here. As you can see, they're mostly triangles, some elongated to give it the longness of the leaves. And then pineapples kind of have this sort of, I'm not going exactly, but almost like diamond shapes on them. And it doesn't have to be exactly perfect. I'm just putting a rough sketch in there to get the feeling of what I want to do. Now first I'm going to get my paintbrush wet over here, and I'm going to move my water over here since it's easier because I'm right-handed. And I'm going to pick up some clean water and put it in my Hansa Yellow. And you could put it in the well here, which I'm going to do so we can mix some green later on. And I'm using the bigger brush here, size 8. You can pick up more water, more paint with this, and I try to put as much as I feel like I'm going to need on here. Now as you're doing watercolor, the more water you add, the less saturation you're going to get of the color that's on your paper. And so I'm just going to slightly use some of this yellow for the background of the base of the pineapple. And this is just because we don't just want stark white back there. I mean, we just want to give the base color of this going on. With watercolor, you're going to start from light to dark. So as I go along with this painting, we're going to be adding more and more darker colors. If you want white, there's certain techniques that we can discuss later on to get that. But for now, this painting is not going to have white. Now I'm going to take the French Ultramarine blue. I'm going to take some and mix it with the yellow to get a really light green. And then I'm just going to go over all the green because that's going to be my base green. Now I'm doing a wet technique over here. And because I'm getting really close to this yellow, the green might actually go into the yellow, and I'm okay with that. If you're not, you can always let it dry, then add the green, but I like to do a lot of wet on wet and kind of play with it and see where it goes. I like seeing how the colors spread when I do that. And I could still see the lines underneath there to kind of be my base of what's going to happen. I'm going to take the same green and kind of go over the lines of the pineapple, and I'm hoping that it'll bleed a little bit, that this yellow is still wet, so it gives it more blended look. This technique is called wet on wet, and I like it. If you want to have more distinct where it doesn't bleed, you wait until the color dries completely first, and then you add another color on top of it. As you can see, as I'm putting it on, it kind of spreads out a little bit, and I want that effect. I want that little bit of a blurry effect because I'm trying to make it look more natural as the colors. You can see how down here it's already starting to dry. You can always, if that bothers you, you can always get it wet again, add some more water to it to make it look more blendy. I did not mention this in any videos before, but always have some paper towel to dry off your brush as you're going along, because you will eventually, as you're changing out color, you want less saturation on your brush. I'm just going to go in and add just more of the Hansa Yellow here to just give it a little bit more of a pop just in the centers here. Now I'm going to go back in a few seconds after I'm done doing all these diamonds and add a little bit of the new Gamboge. That's more of a warm yellow. It's kind of tends to be one of my favorite yellows, and I think it's just because I learned on that yellow, and so I kind of have a fondness for it. When I need the cool yellows, I'm more than able to use them. So now I'm going to go in and just do a tiny bit of the new Gamboge and just kind of just put a tiny bit in the center here. Just a tiny bit, and it's going to spread naturally, which I want it to do, because the pineapple kind of has those little areas. They kind of stick out a little bit, and so I know I say this a lot, but it'll give it some depth. Help so you see the different layering going on. And I'm just going to continue working into all of these diamond shapes until I feel like I have the colors I need in there. And you can see sometimes the colors like to spread a little bit more than you want to. Now if you don't want that, you can go in, get your brush, clean it, and then you can go in and wipe it out. That's the beauty of watercolor. It lets you pick it up even after it dries. You can do this too if you see something. I've had that happen, accidentally flick some paint on somewhere I didn't want it to be. Got a clean brush with some clean water and put it on there and wiped it up. Now while that's drying, I'm going to go back into the leaves and add some more color to them. I'm going to kind of go underneath them around the edges so you can actually see the distinct different leaves. I'm going to probably do 3 or 4 layers of green. Now I'm going to add a little bit of more of my French Ultramarine to that to make it a little bit deeper. And I feel like this is, it's hard to see, this is a little bit too blue. So what I'm going to do is clean off my brush, and then I'm going to add a little bit of the new Gamboge yellow. Give it more of the, I like to call pea green. And then I'm going to go in and kind of go into each leaf and add a little bit underneath as if the light is filtering from the top. And this will also help you define all the different edges of stuff, so you're not going in with just black and like a marker. When I was growing up, I would do that a lot so you could see the edges. I learned as I got older, you just use a little bit of a darker color to give you that separation instead of a black pen. Now if you want to do anime or, you know, do that kind of painting or drawing, then you might want the black lines. But when you're trying to do more impressionist sort of stuff and you don't want that, then I feel like I want just an extra leaf right here. All right, now I'm gonna, it's still pretty wet, and I might actually, I'm just gonna add just a smidgen of green, right? Too wet. I'm gonna add just a smidgen of green right here. I feel like it's kind of got blended out a little bit. Might as well do all of them while I'm here. So I go through my diamonds. You notice that I'm not entirely doing perfectly straight lines. I did that with my very first painting I did at lunch. Didn't love the exactly straight lines. So now I'm kind of doing my wobbly lines here, because nature is not perfect by any means. And as you can see, the yellows that aren't quite dry yet, you can see them bleed into the green that I just put on there. You don't want to have too much green, because like my pineapple that I did the other day, end up looking like it was a very unripe pineapple, and that's not the effect that I was trying to get. Now I'm going to go to my size 4 brush, and then I'm going to take my burnt orange color, add a little bit of water there, and then I'm going to go into each of these diamonds, and I'm going to kind of do a circle of lines all the way around to give it that spiky feeling. Now you see it's kind of wet and it's spreading. That's okay. I can go back in later on and do some more defined spiky circles after it dries. But this is just to give that feeling of what's going on. See, this one worked because it's more dry, and I can go in and I'm going to go through every single diamond here and put that through them, almost like a flower. And add a little bit more water to this. Now, as a kid, I did grow up watching Bob Ross. I was an 80s kid, and something we did, my father also loved Bob Ross and would watch him a lot, and so that's how my dad kind of got his start with painting. He was doing it way before I was born, got into it a lot more heavier as I got a little bit older. He found out that he really enjoyed it, and he became really, really good at painting. He was so good that he ended up doing a few shows on the local cable station where we grew up at, and taught his own paintings. And I remember back in the 80s him doing that, and I remember him practicing the paintings he was going to teach several times to make sure that when he was finally ready to go live on cable television, that he knew what he was doing. My dad loved art, loved painting, and he had a passion for it. He was always doing it. My dad eventually got sick and had to change mediums, but he always had a passion for art. Now, as that's drying, I'm going to take a little bit of more French Ultramarine blue, add it to this mix that I have here to make it a little bit darker. And then I'm going to go in and start doing a little bit more definition on these leaves. You can see what I'm doing here. Just kind of going in, just following what I'm doing. And I could see right here where I had this one, and I'm going to add that leaf. And I'm going to go in and you out there, internet world, are watching me do this. And it's really hard for me because I have a camera right in front of me as I'm painting. And normally I'm not used to having obstructions in front of me while I'm painting, so you'll have to forgive me if this is a little bit weird for me. Now, this pineapple has, well, I'm going to just stretch this green down into here. There we go. Now I'm going to go in and do some more of this burnt orange. And I just want to add just a few more. See, I'm like layering it on in some areas. Like some of it got pretty good, and some of it not as much because it was still pretty wet when I put it on there. Just going to go through, kind of doing a little flower thing again. Kind of. Now, I normally when I work, do my paintings like at work. I do it to relax. I don't tape my paintings down. The reason I did it for this video is, well, for you, as a beginner, it'll be easier for you to have more control, so you don't have to touch and hold your paper down. And also, I'm doing it now because as I'm painting, I don't want to have to hold my painting down. Now, the sheet of paper that I'm using is a 4 by 6. I talked about it in my other video. I like to take the 9 by 12s and cut them in quarters. This one, you know, it's like 6 by 4.5, and it just makes it simple. You can cut off the edges. What's nice about having the tape, it's a time restraint at work. What's nice about having it here is it gives you that nice little white line around your painting when you're done. Now I'm going to go in and take my burnt umber and get some water on it. And then I'm just going to go in just lightly tapping a little bit of burnt in there to give it some what I like to call depth and the point of the pineapple edges. I don't know what they're called, but just have a little bit in there. We're just going to go around each of them. Usually when I'm at lunch at work, I work on 1 or 2 paintings. Sometimes I can't do all of them, finish them in one session because I have to sometimes wait for them to dry. And so I start one and then save it for the next day, and then I finish the one from the day before. And like I said, I usually give away all my paintings just because I just don't need them. I just have so many going on. I'll probably give all these paintings away to whoever asks for them and give it to them. I'm putting a little bit more ultramarine blue into my leftover green, and I'm just going to go through here one more time and try to show where all the pineapple leaves are. Yeah, there's one right here, and I'm going to add the tips of the pineapple leaves on. I'm gonna use that burnt orange again and just do it on some of the tips to kind of show where they're beginning and ending. This one here, here. You couldn't see them earlier, but as I progress, you can kind of see them when I add the tips on. And then I'll take a little bit of my burnt umber and just do the very tip. And it's gonna bleed into the burnt orange, and you know, that's totally okay. I don't mind that at all, because that's how nature kind of is, especially when you're looking at leaves that get little bit crusties on them. It's not like just straight brown and then another color. All right, while I'm waiting for the center of my pineapple to dry, I'm gonna work in the background. This is where the Phthalo Blue comes in. It's that bright tealish blue. I'm gonna take some clean water and I'm just gonna wet down the background. Now, I'm gonna be careful over here where the leaves are, because I kind of don't want it to bleed too much. But I'm gonna go in here and just spread it out a little bit. And you can see you could push around the watercolor when you're painting. Make it kind of go where you want it to. And if you feel like you've got too much, I tend to like to spread it out. And you see I accidentally touched the blue, or the blue with the brown. And you know, it's fine. And see how it kind of spreads out a little bit. What I want you to do is, when you watch these videos, I want you to feel like, hey, I can paint. What she's doing isn't too difficult, and I can do that. That's kind of how my dad started with me. He just constantly encouraged me and told me that I could do it. Just keep trying. And so he never was like, oh, that's not good enough. Don't ever listen to yourself when you say, oh, my art isn't good enough. Because you know what? You're probably right, but it's more for the enjoyment and practice of it. And as you get better, you won't care if it's good enough. You're just going to do it because you want to do it. That's kind of where I'm at. I'm going to go in and take my number 4 brush again, and I'm going to get some more of my burnt umber and just tap a little bit. See, that one's still wet. Do you see how it just bled out a little bit with the wetness? Just go in, get a little bit more definition. I'm going back over the tips, and it might bleed a little bit, but that's all right. Now, as you're painting, just know it's okay to make mistakes, and you can always try again. It's all about the learning process of what you want to do. All right, well, there's my painting. About 20 minutes. Got to let it dry, and a lot of time I have a heat gun that if I'm really in a rush or trying to hurry things up, I will heat gun it. I would also like you to know, once your painting has dried, I want you to know that when you're pulling back your tape, to kind of, this one has 2 layers because it was coming up, but kind of go like this so you don't rip it. Kind of hold it down. Now this is tape from the dollar store, so it comes up a lot easier than if you were to do more expensive tape. More expensive tape will hold it down better, but sometimes it likes to rip the paper with it. All right, well, there you have it. That is my pineapple. And this one has the edge. Here's the other ones. As you can see, they're all different, a little bit different variances, and that's okay. Hopefully that when you go to do this painting, that You'll do it for the enjoyment and just to play with your colors. And as time goes on, you will get better with painting objects out there. If you like this video, hit subscribe and give it a thumbs up if you like it. And if you have any comments or suggestions, please put them in. I'd like to hear from you. Happy painting!